right. Hello, everyone. We're here with the legendary Paul Ching, the OG of Marketing Cloud. Maybe to kick off, Paul, maybe you could just share, why are you a Marketing Cloud champion? Why do our clients love you? It seems like you're the only one who can make Marketing Cloud work. Tell us a bit of background about you.
Sure. Thank you. Great to be here. I've started working with Marketing Cloud back in 2009 when it was called Exact Target. So obviously I had a lot of years experience, and I've worked with many customers. I've probably worked on implementations, hundreds of implementations for our customers. So over that time, if being able to understand the software so well, but also understand what business requirements and the business outcomes they're trying to achieve. I think, where I focus a lot and is completely understanding the customer, understanding where they're at and where they like to be in order for us to then work with my team to then implement Marketing Cloud. And I think that's where I see my main strength in why, as you say, customers love working with me, is because I get what they want.
Yes.
And I understand it, how they want to be able to utilize it, how they want to be able to, send out emails, it needs to be easy.
Yes.
The technology is there, and yes, it's a fantastic technology, but if you implement it in a way that doesn't meet their objectives, then they are going to see, okay, this doesn't work the way I like it.
Yes, and we hear that a lot, right?
Yes.
We hear that a lot. We hear customers really frustrated. They're like, it's just collecting dust. Our team hate it. They don't want to get in there. And there's a huge frustration. And, 3 weeks working with you, they're like, really singing praises. And because it's already working, they're sending out all these millions of communication. What is it that you do? So you mentioned that you understand the requirement, which is very important, right? But as soon as you engage them, right, what is it that you do? Can you give step by step?
Yeah, I mean, we do a discovery with them to understand what is it they're trying to achieve. I like to understand the outcomes. I like to understand what is that they're trying to, their KPIs they're trying to hit and try to meet, because if I understand that, because that's what's going to make them love the platform, if I can help them meet that.
It's less about the tech, it's more about the business outcomes.
Exactly. Because the way I look at things when I work with customers, I want the technology to work for them, not them having to work with the technology. So the way I work with them is to understand that, work with our team to develop the right solutions. And even where I go even a little bit further is, I think 6 months down the track, what is likely to come about? What would potentially the customer need to do in 6 months' time that I can make it easier today, so that when 6 months comes down, they don't have to be like, oh, I want to do this, but now I have to embark on a new project to get it all done. So I think that's the advantages of working myself and when I work with our customers, is that I make the platform scalable.
Yes.
And the solution scalable that's going to help them in the future. Even though they're not thinking about it today.
Right. That's exactly right. Very future-proofed.
Yes.
Right? Not short-term strategy, but future-proofed, not just understanding like what email you want to send, right?
Yes.
It's all about the overall business objective of a marketer. Right?
Yes.
And it's usually related to sales, right? It's usually related to the number of customers they need to reach. And, I know that a lot of customers it's a very hard platform to use. I think it's easy to say that. We're probably going to get shoved to say that, but it's an enterprise platform. Right?
It is. I mean, it caters for anyone and everyone. It caters for developers. If you love code, it caters for you. If you don't like code, it does cater for you. But it's just in the balance of how you get it implemented. Yeah. So really, I've worked with a lot of customers that have said, it's too hard. I can't do these things. And then I look at, okay, well, let's look at what your skill levels are internally.
Exactly. That's so important, right? If they don't have the right headcount, the right skill set internally, that's really where they'd struggle.
Exactly. And then I'd say, well, okay, obviously, yes, I can see why it's not working for you, because your skill set doesn't match the way that your partner or that's been set up. So I take that into consideration. And then when I work with a team, I was like, okay, they can't manage that. They're not going to be able to maintain that. We need to find a new solution that they can maintain.
Yes.
So and
I think that's very refreshing for customers to hear, right? And no one will tell them that, right? Apart from, because it's very hard for someone working internally to say, I can't make this platform work, right? And I think there's a lot of, fear as well for them to say, like,
Yes.
Especially if they were told that it's easy to use.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. and I think the other thing is I've worked with a lot of customers where I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say?
What were we talking?
No, I was going to say...
Let's go back.
Yeah.
It's a training. The training of the staff and the training of the team.
Yes.
And filling the gap.
Filling the gap. Yeah. Ask me another question, but yeah,
Okay.
I'll come back.
What sort of team do companies need? What sort of skill set?
I think, where I always would push for the company to have is really a champion.
Yep.
who will own the platform and who's not afraid to be more innovative and start learning on the platform. So there are a lot of out of the box features that customers can use that a lot of customers won't because they're unsure of it. They just get set in their way, and that's why they say we're not seeing value in it. But of course you're not going to see value unless you hire someone full time that's going to just be right on Marketing Cloud and working on trying to get more innovative on the new features.
And it's very hard for companies to understand that there are a lot of skill sets required, right? Because this is a conversion of tech and marketing, right? It's like the left and the right brain. You don't just have to be techie, but you also need to have that creative brain to create a beautiful campaign, right? So I think from what we're seeing, the different skill sets are you got to have a campaign developer, a marketing developer. If you walk me through this,
I
please.
mean, I obviously you want to have someone who has built emails before and then can, create the content blocks. We typically would create a template with all content blocks they can utilize and they can continue to build on. So, I mean, campaign developer, they would need someone who's building their journeys. Has that strategy as well to understand, what am I trying to achieve? How am I trying to how do I engage my customers? I think where customers also probably lose a little bit of focus is they're so much into, I need to send out this email next week, and then the following week is another email. But where I try to shift their mindset is, okay, you need to start thinking that it's a journey. How is it? How am I going to engage with this customer over the next, couple of months rather than just tomorrow?
Amazing.
Because then what you're looking at is that result. Do you even have time to look at that result?
Absolutely.
Sometimes not. So then look at it like today, sit with your marketing team. Okay, first we're going to send this email. What happens if they open? Okay, this. What happens if they click? This. Okay.
That's why it's called a journey, right?
Exactly.
You got to really map out that journey of the whole experience, right?
Yes.
And you could be as creative as you can and be very, focus in terms of what creates the value.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it sounds to me like first you help them understand the objectives, the overall business objectives, right? Not just the short term.
Yeah.
And then you distill it down to what you could execute now. And by breaking it down in terms of the journey, and this is how you guide them, and then you help them in terms of providing them with the skill sets that are lacking.
Yeah.
Is that sort of like summarizes how you help them? What's missing in that? What about in terms of the operations?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the operations, it's really understanding the data and understanding what data you're ingesting.
Yep.
Because you should always continuously add more data or add more data in order for them to be able to continue to have that 360 view, then provide more personalization, more recommendations on how you talk to them. Having those conversations through email it can also be a very personal touch with regards to, hey, I noticed last week you purchased this. You might want to purchase this because it complements that. So, if I was to receive an email like that was talking to me about things that I've already purchased, I'm more inclined to read it. So I really think about, as much data as you can get in there to be able to utilize to create that 360 view is something
amazing. And that alludes to, that's really the power of Data Cloud, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You talk more about what Data Cloud can do and how it powers Marketing Cloud.
Yeah, I mean, Data Cloud definitely is a tool that I'm really excited about as well with regards to bringing all that data together. Working with Marketing Cloud has been great and it's fantastic. One of the things that Marketing Cloud has, because it can do so much, you do need to have SQL experience, and you need to be able to then join and do all these, SQL queries, complex queries that allow you to bring all this data together, which in some organizations actually really is a blocker
Absolutely.
for the marketing team to get the data that they need.
Yeah, look, we have a customer who has to request for data. It will take IT weeks for them to be able to provide that. Like, it's like, oh my gosh.
Exactly. Whereas then you have the power of data cloud. You just bring all the data together, and then it's just drag and drop,
and
creating your
really
audiences.
What it does. It unlocks trapped data.
And so many insights that you can get out of it, whereas you're only limited to whatever you can get within Marketing Cloud. Now you have open to so many insights in seeing what someone's journey been with your company, what's their lifetime value and things like that.
Absolutely. And that's really bringing all those data in is what enriches that experience, right? As you could bring into the journey and bring in hyper personalized campaigns, right? Which increases obviously the open rate and obviously eventually the conversion.
Yes.
Right. So the complementary power of Data Cloud and Marketing Cloud, bringing that together. You've done a lot of Data Cloud implementation. Can you give advice in terms of companies who are looking into it's also sort of the gateway to Agentforce, right?
Yes,
give them advice in terms of what is an MVP implementation of Data Cloud. What do they need to prepare?
I mean, I think with Data Cloud, it's the data. Yeah, you do have to have your data strategy in place to understand what data you need to bring.
But what is that? How does that, the bare minimum, how should that look like?
I mean, we worked on a POC for a customer where we brought in Marketing Cloud metrics data and their purchase data to be able to create Google ad audiences. So it doesn't take a lot in order to create that. We ingested it through the data stream bundles and then allowed to use drag and drop to create those audiences. So really, you can start there.
Yeah.
You can start to look at how you can create audiences that are more enriched with information, so you can be more targeted in the social media and social ads that you create.
Yeah, amazing. And right now, because of everyone's talking about Agentforce, right? I love Marketing Cloud because what I always say, Marketing Cloud is a revenue generating platform. This is really what grows their business, scales their business, right? Can you give advice in terms of those who are stuck, right? And even like put it aside and just not seeing that revenue, like how it helps in terms of driving that revenue because they're just really stuck. Can you just simplify the advice? What should companies do? Like step 1, step 2.
Yeah. I think, really understand what you're trying to achieve and understand if the product or the platform has been set up in the way that to achieve that. I think really just get in there and understand all the features that you have on hand and start creating and utilizing them. You can do a lot of testing within your Marketing Cloud account that allows you to utilize features like, send time optimization, some of those AI features. Even within the email, you can create content with using AI. Start there, start looking at what you've got in place. I would also say, look at the data. Do you have that master data extension that we typically would recommend that you create that allows you to easily filter off, rather than needing to have a dependency on your IT team to create your data because, they would do the SQL query to join and things like that. So, I'll definitely start there. And then once your data structure's in place with all the fields that you need, and then, start looking at the innovative ways you can start.
Yeah. I think it's also good to audit the team, right? The skill set of the team, because you mentioned that earlier. They need to have the basic capability to do certain things, right?
I mean, when you work with us, then we would do a health check.
Yep.
We would understand what the team looks like, what their skill sets are. Then we'll look under the hood to see what's happening with your account, and then be able to say, okay, here's the mismatch. This is where the gap lies. This is what we'll fix, which then is going to allow you to continue to, have the ROI coming out of Marketing Cloud that you need. So it's definitely, and a health check is not one time and forget about it, because
the famous set and forget.
Because technology changes all the time.
Absolutely.
You get new features all the time, and so you may have been working on one way 2 years ago, But today, there's now a new feature that does that automatically for you. So you should always think about these things because, Salesforce will do 3 releases a year. There are a lot of things there you could just read up and see what's there and then just trial it. You know, and that's why I say about marketing champion, because it allows that person to have that time, give that person that time to understand what the new features are and then look at how they can implement them.
Absolutely. And also, look, let's set the record straight, right? This whole set and forget. It's true, you could set and forget. It's referring to probably one journey that could help you generate the revenue. But you don't want to do set and forget at all, because you could be creating so many revenue generating journeys, right? As you ingest more and more data in, as you really build into the experience, as you invest more in enriching that experience. Like, why would you set and forget, right?
Yeah, I think set and forget used to be a term that we used a lot in the past when people were doing a lot of things very manually.
Yeah.
So, back in the day when we were doing email marketing, it was very much import your data, send out the email. Then, we will have
it's there. It's doing the work, right? It's doing the hard work nonstop as long as you set it up. I'm just saying, keep doing more.
I mean, I think it's evolved to, anyway, in my opinion anyway, to set and optimize.
Ooh,
rather than it be set and forget.
Yeah, you heard it from the OG. Set and optimize. No, it's really important, right?
Yeah.
Because first of all, some stuff breaks, right? Some, like the preference center, for example. Let's talk about that. That's an important thing that always needs to be checked, that it's still working, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that you want to continue to check as coding changes and things like that. But yeah, I mean, preferences always change. People's behavior change. I mean, if you think about, I'm not the same. I don't have the same preferences as today.
Yeah.
So really, like looking at and that's everyone's interests change. Things interesting, like technology's changing.
Technology changes. The way it behaves, the way it interacts with people, the way the data is ingested, the way the functionalities work. It's just like a car. A car is like an old age type of machine, right? You need to have like the kilometer check consistently, otherwise it's just going to be rusting, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's the same as Marketing Cloud. Like, I think I want to say, if your Marketing Cloud is revenue generating, you're not using it to its full power. So you need to make sure that you really dust off that technology and, maximize the crap out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, because I think a lot of customers need to stop and take the time to review the metrics and what has that journey or those emails have achieved for them from a revenue point of view. Because a lot of customers don't.
No, they don't.
They just feel like, I've got the email out. Now I've got to work on to the next one.
Yeah. So what do you think is the right time to like do an audit? So for example, you build your ROI roadmap. A lot of them are enriching like customer experience journeys. Some of them are revenue generating because it's tied to promotion. What should be the cadence in terms of reviewing those as the journey?
Well, I mean, it's all the time.
No, I mean, quarterly?
Definitely, definitely at least quarterly, you need to be looking at all your journeys and things like that. But, Marketing Cloud has the ability to give you those metrics quite quickly. You can also set goals within your journey, and it gives you quickly an understanding whether you're meeting those goals. As I said, I mean, we're changing at such a fast pace that you should be really understanding, how your journeys are actually performing.
Absolutely.
All the time, and make simple changes as quickly as you can in order for you to increase those KPIs and conversions.
Yeah. And I would challenge marketers to use Marketing Cloud really to be part of a forecast, the same way that you would do it for your ads, right? If you have like 1 million in your database, right? If you have a 10% uptake in just one journey, and you have a customer lifetime value of $10, like 100,000 times 10, how much is that? My girl math is bad. That's the additional revenue that you have for one journey, right? But there isn't any limit to the journeys that you can create, right? So this is what Marketing Cloud is about. It's a tool that is a revenue generating, and I even suggest that CFO use this. in terms of their revenue forecast. That's what
Yeah.
Marketing Cloud is about.
I think that's right. I mean, if customers just look at each journey as how they can increase their
An
revenue,
asset. It's like an
what's
asset.
the conversion rate? Like, if I get someone through this journey and one person purchases, how much is that to you? That could be $10. So how many people do I need to enter to get through this journey? And it's an automated journey. So
Yeah, this is why we love the platform.
Yeah, I've got to say, I definitely love Marketing Cloud. I'm working with it since 2009. So, it's a tool very close to my heart. So, if customers out there, want to see more value out of the platform, we're something I can definitely help them with.
Maybe say that to the camera.
Yeah, so I'm really Marketing Clouds. They're very close to my heart. I've been working with it for many years. So, if any customers aren't seeing the value in it, that's the prime customer that I would love to speak to and understand how I can help them achieve more with Marketing Cloud.
Well, thank you for joining us. We've got Paul, the OG, the marketing champion, working with the platform for more than 10 years. Just ask, right? We're here to help. Thank you.